Welcome to Law Days and Lattes, the podcast where we blend the world of law and business with a warm cup of information and common sense. I'm your host, Sidney Wheelan, attorney, real estate investor, and business owner. Each week, we'll be your go-to source for legal insights, business advice, and so much more. Whether you're a seasoned professional, an ambitious entrepreneur, or simply someone seeking guidance, we'll have you covered. From navigating the legal landscape to empowering you with valuable business strategies, we'll explore the legal side of life and enjoy a virtual latte along the way. So, grab your favorite latte, get comfortable, and let's dive into Law Days and Lattes. Welcome to Law Days and Lattes. This podcast is sponsored by the Wheelan Law Firm of Moberly, Missouri, your go-to source for legal issues encountered by your family and your business. If you have questions about anything we discuss on this podcast, please reach out to us at www.wheelanlaw.com. Our goal is to serve you, your family, and your business professionally and with the utmost compassion and understanding. I'm your host, Sidney Wheelan. Welcome to episode 19. One of the saddest things about my job as a trial attorney is talking to families whose loved ones died as a result of the irresponsible or intentional conduct of another person. Wrongful death. What is it? Wrongful death constitutes a legal claim that arises when a person dies as a result of the wrongful act, negligence, recklessness, or misconduct of another individual or entity. Each jurisdiction may have specific statutes and case law that outline and govern wrongful death claims, including who can file a claim, the types of damages that can be recovered, and the time frame within which a claim must be filed. That's often called the statute of limitations. The specific elements that typically constitute a wrongful death claim include 1. A duty of care. The defendant, who is the person or entity that caused the death, owed a duty of care to the deceased. This means that the defendant had a legal obligation to act in a way that would prevent harm to the deceased. 2. There must be a breach of that duty. The defendant breached a duty through action or inaction. This breach can be due to negligence, which is failing to act with reasonable care, recklessness, which means disregarding a substantial risk, or even intentional misconduct, meaning deliberate, harmful actions. 3. The third element of a wrongful death claim is causation, which simply means that the breach of the duty directly caused the death of the individual. There must be a clear link between the defendant's actions and the resulting death. The fourth and final element is damages. The death must have caused quantifiable damages to the deceased family or the probate estate. These damages can include financial losses, such as loss of income and funeral expenses, non-economic losses, such as loss of companionship and emotional suffering, including, in Missouri, the reasonable value of the services, consortium, companionship, comfort, instruction, guidance, counsel, training, and support. And in some circumstances, punitive damages are allowed. Punitive damages are intended to punish particularly egregious conduct. So, who are eligible to file wrongful death claims? Well, the claim must be brought by eligible parties, typically close relatives of the deceased, such as spouses, children, or parents. The specifics of who can file a wrongful death claim can vary by jurisdiction. In Missouri, the claim may be brought by what we call Class 1 claimants. The Class 1 claimants are the spouse or children, or the surviving lineal descendants of any deceased children, or by the father or mother of the deceased. 2. If there are no persons in Class 1 entitled to bring the action, then the Class 2 claimants are the brother or sister of the deceased or their descendants. If there are no people in Class 1 or Class 2 entitled to bring the action, then a plaintiff ad litem. Such plaintiff ad litem is someone appointed by the court to bring the wrongful death claim. Other states have different rules, such as the requirement that the personal representative of the deceased probate estate is the only person to bring the wrongful death action. There are also time limitations to consider, and different jurisdictions have different rules. In Missouri, every wrongful death action instituted under the wrongful death statute shall be commenced within 3 years after the date of death. There are some exceptions to the 3-year rule, so it's very important that you speak to an attorney who handles these types of cases as soon as possible after a death if you think that someone else could have caused the death. Common scenarios that can give rise to wrongful death claims include medical malpractice, automobile collisions caused by negligence or reckless driving, workplace accidents due to unsafe conditions, defective products that cause fatal injuries, and sometimes even criminal actions such as assault or homicide. The process of filing a wrongful death claim begins with talking to an attorney with expertise in this area of the law. Your attorney will investigate the facts, gather the evidence, talk to witnesses, get the advice of expert witnesses, and file the lawsuit. The attorney will pursue the legal steps necessary to eventually get the case decided by a judge or a jury. So what happens if we get a judgment for wrongful death? How are the claimants compensated? Well, in Missouri, there are several ways that the claimants may recover money damages. First, there may be insurance proceeds available. Usually we see this in situations such as motor vehicle collisions, truck collisions, or motorcycle collisions. If the negligent driver had liability insurance, the claimants may be able to recover those insurance proceeds. A reputable and experienced injury attorney will review all of the insurance policies, including those of the decedent. This might include uninsurance coverage or underinsured motorist coverage, just to make sure that the claimants receive all of the benefits to which they are entitled. The wrongful death claimants may be able to attach assets owned by the person who caused the death, eventually selling those assets to satisfy the judgment against the defendant. And third, the state of Missouri has created a fund called the Tort Victims Compensation Fund. That fund may provide some benefit for tort victims if there is not sufficient insurance or assets to satisfy the judgment. Those funds are dependent upon several factors, including payout caps, the amount available in the fund on any given year, and the number of claimants seeking compensation from the fund on an annual basis. While no amount of money can substitute for the life cut short by a negligent or intentional act, seeking the advice of a competent attorney with expertise in wrongful death claims is the best practice to assure that you or your loved ones receive the compensation you're entitled to under the law. Thank you for listening today. I hope you have found this episode helpful. If you have questions about anything we've talked about on this podcast, please reach out to us at www.wheelanlaw.com. We will also put our contact information in the show notes. And again, as a reminder, if you hit the subscribe button, you will automatically be alerted when a new episode airs. If you enjoyed this episode, please give us a 5-star review and share it with your friends and family. As always, my friends, grab a cup of coffee or your favorite latte, hold your loved ones tight, and have a great week.
This podcast episode contains general information for discussion purposes only. Each case is different and must be judged on its own merits. Missouri rules generally prohibit lawyers from advertising that they specialize in particular areas of the law. This show should not be construed to suggest such specialization. Nothing on this show should be taken as legal advice for any individual case or situation. This information is not intended to create an attorney-client relationship, and the listening or viewing of this podcast does not constitute an attorney-client relationship. The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.